Today, for the very first time, I'm going to be listening to the album Antidote by the band The New Shining. Hello everybody and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on my channel. I'm excited about this video, but also a tiny bit trepidatious. I have done almost no prep for this whatsoever. I just felt like recording a video, and I have been looking forward to listening to this album for a couple weeks now, ever since I found out that it came out. But I'll get more to the album in a second and sort of go over my thoughts before we actually get into listening to it. But before I get to that, I just want to say that if you've never seen a video on my channel before, know that what I'm going to do is listen all the way through this album from front to back, and I'm going to be doing it because I don't have a copy of the album on CD. Usually I try to listen to albums on CDs if I can get them, but I think as of right now I just can't find a way to purchase the CD in a way that is financially responsible for me. This band, The New Shining, are from the Netherlands, I believe, and well, I'll get more to them in a second, but I just want to say I'm going to be using my tablet and listening on Spotify, and I only have a free version of Spotify, so what I'll be doing is, cutting out any ads or whatever. We'll get to that when it comes up. But I just want to say that I want to try to get this video edited and uploaded in such a way that I can include all of the audio from the album in the video as well, so that you watching can hear along with me for the first time, or if you've heard this album a bunch of times, you can hear the album with me and listen along, because I know it's a lot more enjoyable to experience the videos like that, and I've been trying to do my videos like that on my channel more in this year, and sometimes it leads to copyright issues. So if I have copyright issues, I may have to chunk the video up. I may have to cut out moments where it's just the music. I may decide to just upload the whole video without including the music at all. I've done different things on my channel, and I haven't really found a way that works for sure, that I know for certain it's going to be able to be uploaded. But I think The New Shining is kind of relatively a smaller band in the whole world of music, and I'm not sure how many people will ever watch this, but like I said, I'm just excited. So just know, however this video is uploaded, I tried my best to give you as much as possible, and we'll just have to see what happens. Another thing I want to mention right up the front is that if you notice my shirt, and I maybe think I look a little bit ridiculous, this is my fourth shirt in my series of 7 shirts that I was going to wear throughout the course of the beginning of this year while I record my reactions, that I found from my high school days, which I graduated from high school in 2005, so we're talking, 17 or so, 18 years ago, I guess. Math, whatever. But I found them in my closet downstairs, and so I've been going through and wearing these fun No Boundaries shirts, and so just to point that out, this shirt's one of the more ridiculous of the shirts that I found, but it's got a cool dragon, it's got cool light blue and dark blue colors on it, it's got a fancy car down here at the bottom. It's whatever. It's cool. I like it, and not something I would really wear that much, but for the purposes of a video, I think really cool. I also want to mention in the description of the video, you will see links to all. I should have mentioned this first. If you've gotten this far into the video, thank you very much. But there's links in the description to listen to the album, all this stuff, to purchase the album if I can find it on Amazon. But then also there's timestamps, so you can skip to all the different sections, skip over me rambling here at the beginning like I'm doing now. You can tell I haven't filmed a video in a while. But you can skip to any of the different sections of the video. After I'm done listening, I will do my sort of review or overall thoughts of the album, so you can skip all the way to the end if you want to do that. And if you have a favorite track on the album, I will include each individual track as its own timestamp as well. So you can just look on the timeline of the video and hopefully see the content that you want to see. What else? I want to say that here's something fun. These 3 succulent plants here. Yes, my mom is a big gardener, and every year I go with her at the beginning of spring, sort of, to go out and try to find the plants that she wants to plant around their yard. And so this year, for the first time, I wanted to buy myself some plants, and I've been thinking about getting some indoor succulent plants that I could maybe have in the background of my videos or whatever. And so I chose these 3 for the first time, and I was doing a little bit of internet research yesterday, and it seems like it might be harder than I thought to grow these and keep these growing, but whatever. They're in this video if nothing else, so enjoy these awesome 3 little succulents here. I have the names of them or whatever. I could maybe put them in the description of the video if I think about it later, but anyway. Okay, so to The New Shining. This is a band that I know almost nothing about, and the reason I came across the new album Antidote is because their previous album, which I think came out 2 years ago, which is called Elephant. For those of you watching this that don't know, every year at the end of the year, I do a very pretty extensive process of going back through the year and listening to all the albums that I sort of missed that sound interesting to me, trying to make my list of my top 12 favorite albums of the year. And I've been doing this now for 11 years. For over a decade, I've been doing this every year. And so from October to December, I spend a large amount of effort and time going through all these albums. And I go through albums throughout the year, of course, as well, and save a lot of things on Spotify, you know, have notes and things that I just sort of keep with me all times, like to remember to look up this band or whatever I hear, wherever I happen to be. And I discover a lot of new bands nowadays on Facebook, and I know a lot of people don't use Facebook anymore, but Facebook, because I have it curated the way that I do, it actually works really well for me to discover new bands through Facebook. And The New Shining is one of the bands that I came across with their album Elephant when it was released back in 2020, I believe. And I saw the cover, and it looked kind of cool, like a picture of an elephant that's kind of like green with a purple background and sort of neon writing. And I was like, oh, this could be cool. It could have some neat synths on it. You know, I thought that just looking at the cover. And I listened to the album, and I listened to the first few songs, and I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. It's a neat combination of electronic music with rock music in such a way that I really enjoy it, where the music tends to skew a little bit more electronic. There's more synths and electronic programmed drums and synth bass than there are, you know, guitar, drums, bass, vocals, you know, acoustically, you know, or like a rock band would do or sound. And so I really enjoy bands like that. And this was a really cool, the few songs that I heard was a really cool example of that. And so I saved it on my Spotify for that year, and I waited until the end of the year to kind of go back and revisit it. I forgot about it. And I listened all the way through the whole album at the end of that year, and I was just blown away by how good I thought it was. But it was so late in the year, and there was so much good music released in 2020 that, even despite the pandemic and everything, that it ended up not making it on my list. And I think last year, the few times that I went back and listened to the album, I kind of wish that I had had more time with it to let it grow on me more. And I would have been able to, I think, probably very safely say that that album should have been on my list for my top 12 favorite albums of 2020. And so I definitely didn't want to make that mistake again if they had a new album come out ever. And so I saw a couple weeks ago that they released a new album called Antidote. And so I really don't have that much to say about this, other than the only thing I know about The New Shining is the way that their album Elephant sounded. And at the time, I looked them up on Spotify, and I saw that they had a couple other albums on Spotify, but nothing that sounded really even remotely close to the new to Elephant. And you know, they had an acoustic thing, and I listened to samples of stuff, and I wasn't really vibing with it. I wasn't digging it that much. And there was quite a bit of time, I believe 8 years, from their last album to Elephant. And so I thought, oh, well, they've maybe got some new members, whatever, reformatted the band to be this new thing that I really enjoy. And so on Facebook every now and then, because I was impressed with them at first, I think I went and like found their page and followed them or something on Facebook. So I actually see posts from them every now and then when they post. And I've seen things about how the singer for this band is really into mental health and that he suffered from depression. And so that's like a large part of the lyrics and the music and the sort of messaging of the music. And especially, I believe, on Antidote, this new album. And I'll just say right up front here that I am not the kind of person that really listens to and analyzes the lyrics of music. So if you're a fan of this band and you're expecting me to like break down the deepness of the meanings of all these lyrics, that's probably not something that I will do. If something stands out to me, I will definitely point it out and discuss and talk about it, but I'm going to probably be listening to the music a lot more. So I just wanted to mention that. I also know that I believe the singer for this album has a band, like a secondary band or maybe a solo project that I think is called Nox, N-O-X. I'm not positive about that. But I think they might have had an album released last year, and I think I listened to part of it, and I don't know why I never really went back to it. So somehow that has slipped past me. I don't know if it sounds like this or sounds completely different. Maybe it really didn't vibe with me either. I'm not sure. I can't really remember. But that's pretty much all I know about this band. I did listen to the first half of the first song on this album to just kind of see what it sounded like, and I was blown away, and so I was like, I need to stop this. And whether I film a video for it or not in the future, I want to sit down with good headphones, and I want to pay attention to this album, and I want to listen to it because I loved what I was hearing. The sonic quality was really good, and the synths in the first song, at least, really stood out to me. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, is cool synth parts, synth lines. I'm not necessarily looking for synth leads or anything like that, and I'm not necessarily looking for an electronic album. As I said, I'm looking for an electronic band that uses rock elements, as opposed to a rock band that uses electronic elements, which almost all rock bands do nowadays. But there's something special about certain bands, like The Sounds, for example, are one of those bands, I think. Apoptygma Berserk, their last several albums before they haven't made any new music in quite a while, but Apoptygma Berserk, even kind of something along the lines of like the Boom Boom Satellites or Mesh, which I consider to be more of an electronic band, but they use rock elements. Bands like that are more of an electronic band that use rock elements. That's kind of what I'm hoping to get from this album. So, that, and the first track had really, really nice, very crisp, clean vocals that I didn't hear the whole song, but just the first half of it had really nice, very clear vocals. And so I'm anxious to hear the production, to dive into the production, the different sounds that are being used, and just whatever I'm hearing. So without further ado, let's listen to this. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that I have my free version of Spotify, so we'll be getting some ads. But because I'm listening on my tablet, which for those of you who are unaware of this, and you only listen to Spotify on your phone, and it was so frustrating to you that you chose to pay for Spotify, you can listen on tablets or on a device, for example, like my PlayStation. There are significantly less ads, and you can choose what songs you actually want to listen to based on the device. On my cell phone, I can't choose what song from an album to listen to. It's a completely different version of Spotify. However, on this tablet, I can choose whatever song from whatever album I want, and almost every single time I start the Spotify app and I start playing something, I get an ad immediately that if I watch it, I'll get 30 minutes of free uninterrupted music. And I love that. That's the way we're going to listen to this album. So when we get to an ad, inevitably we will, I'll just try to edit the video, cut it out so that it seems as smooth as we can get it. But while I'm looking for this, because like I said, I didn't prepare for this very much, I should have said that one of the other reasons I'm excited to listen to this album is because I have a feeling that it's going to be a very emotional album. And normally I'm not a super... Phone's ringing. Hold on. Gotta check. Pause. Telemarketer. So what I was saying was... What was I even saying? Oh, normally I'm not a very emotional person. However, this morning I finished the final episode in the only season that's been released so far of an anime that I absolutely have been loving for the last several days. I really binged this thing hard and watched the whole thing over just, I think, like 3 days. But it was a very emotional and incredible anime, and it was one that I totally judged wrong looking at the title of it, and I can't even remember what it's called. It's like My Senpai is Like a Bunny or something. I'll put a picture of it up over here, and this is one of those anime that is my favorite kind. It's sort of like slice of life, very emotional, fantastic. To me, some of the greatest media of all time are these like really awesome, heartfelt, just gut-wrenching animes. And this is one of them, and I finished it just this morning, and so I'm feeling slightly higher emotionally than I normally would. And I thought that would maybe lend to having a good reaction video, though I'm not anticipating I'm going to sit here and like bawl my eyes out or anything, but... So, kind of as I was alluding to earlier, I really enjoy this band, and I vastly prefer to get CDs of albums when I can find them. And I checked on this band's website, I checked on Amazon, and it's just too expensive for me to justify buying it. And I know that probably slaps the band in the face. And I hate to say that, but I'm a really poor person. And I can't afford all of the albums that I want to buy in a year, and I try to limit myself to like $17 max if I can, and I know this would be coming from probably Europe. I think the CD version of this album is only available on their website, though I did see it listed earlier today. I looked this morning before filming this just to make sure. On Amazon, it was listed as 18 something, and I don't think that was through Amazon, so I would have had to pay $4 shipping. And there's one copy of Elephant for sale on Amazon as well, and that's on sale. That's for like $35. So anyway, I know that the monetary stuff doesn't really matter, but you know, I want to support the band somehow, and you know, so maybe I'll try to find a way to buy the files digitally or something. I'm not sure, but for now, I am going to just listen on Spotify, and if this album absolutely blows me away, I would maybe think about spending $20 on it. There are several other bands from the Netherlands that I enjoy a lot, so we'll see. Although I don't think none of them sound like this, but. Rambling intro aside, oh shoot, I should also mention I have to have an extra cord here because my headphones are funky, and so what I'm going to be listening to, the stereo image is actually going to be reversed from what you are listening to this on, whatever you're listening to this on. So if I say something is on the right and I don't if I'm not thinking about it at the time, it may be something that's on the left for you of the stereo spectrum. So just be aware of that. But I'll try to remember that. Okay, so My Defeat, track 1, right now. And yes, it's starting out immediately with this awesome synth sounds. My defeat. Really great vocals. It's starting to show. There's my head hangs low. My defeat. The vocals are interesting because I can tell that it's clear and dry right in the middle, but there's either a reverb track or a slight delay track. Oh, those synths are great. There's either a reverb track or a delayed track that is either of an overdub or the same exact track. I think it's an overdub. But the overdub track, the background track, has distortion on it, but no high end. So it sounds like an interesting layer underneath the vocals that almost don't necessarily sound like background vocals. It's a very interesting way to mix it, but it sounds really good. Adds a little bit of bite to it. Now the drums sound like real drums. There's like a little finger cymbal type sounding bell noise in there that's very nice. And that boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, that synth bass, really cool. I've tried to make you whole. I nearly lost my soul. I've gotta let you go. God knows I've tried every single time. You're holding back a lie. It's killing me inside. I just realized right now what this reminds me of. On one of the Infected Mushroom albums, they do a cover of one of the Doors songs. I think Riders in the Storm. And they have a guest vocalist, and that sounds to me like this. That's okay. That's something that's been bothering me for weeks. Like, what does this remind me of? Okay. Oh, that Paul muted guitar with lots of delay on it there. I love those bells. They're different pitches too. So it could just be like a key patch, and then they have an echo delay, like a flutter echo delay on it. I love the vocals. They sound really nice. And the background vocals are nice too, the harmony vocals, mixed in the middle. But it sounds like there might be like a higher pitched one spread in the back. Oh, that's cool. Okay, now we have the guitars much more prevalent, more of like a rock sounding song now. Nice. The background vocals are really nice. They're intense background vocals, intense overdubs. Okay, now we have the guitars doing sort of like an 80s sounding, very reeved out, maybe a little flange on it too. There's rock guitar going, power chords or whatnot, just strummed chords. and then a bit of a lead over it. And the cool synths are back. This is reminding me a lot of one of my favorite bands of all time, Mesh, and that's really great. I mean, there's some Depeche Mode, there's all sorts of cool influences here. Okay, that's track 1, My Defeat. Track 2, Thief. Now, I have heard none of this at all. I didn't hear the second half of that song, so I didn't know what to expect for the bridge, but... Okay, some cool tom drums there, right in the middle. Synth spread. Cool warble on some of those synths. You came as a thief in the night. Okay, there's definitely some distortion on the vocals as well. It sounds like it's like the track was doubled and then there was some distortion effects on the double, because you can still hear that crisp, dry vocal right in the middle that doesn't have effects on it. That I think at least. Maybe they recorded the vocals with 2 microphones. One of the microphones, which that would give the same performance, but from a different signal point. Nice reverb on it as well. And we have like a shaker kind of floating around. That's kind of neat too. Nice harmony vocals. I don't know if this band has an additional person in the band that does singing, or if all the vocals are done by the vocalist, or if they have a background singer or someone that plays guitar or something that does background vocals. Ooh. Big toms, nice low piano note there, very cool. Okay. Ooh. Ooh, the toms are really cool here. There's like a synth bass in the middle there. Yep. Kind of a synth bass, a bit higher pitch. There's maybe a smidge of Powerman 5000 in this too, which is really cool. There was a band that only released one album called Clear Static that this also sort of reminds me of. They had a singer that sounded very similar, like the guy from The Cure, I think. I'm not really very familiar with The Cure, but I believe that was one of their big influences. But that album has a really cool mixture of electronics and synths and rock as well. I recommend that album, Clear Static. I think it's just called... Oh, I don't remember what it's called. I'll put a picture of it up over here. Look that up, though. Okay. Half-tempo chorus now. Or this is maybe post-chorus. Oh, love the bent guitar notes. Very classic rock sort of sounding. Now the cymbals don't feel very wide, the mix of the drums. It's definitely, there is stereo information there. But it's contained more in the middle more, I believe. Okay, everything goes away with the drums, which do sound very good. The toms are spread very wide. The snare sounds very good. It sounds like a deeper snare. It's not just snappy high frequencies. You can hear the snare, the actual snares. This song to me sounds a tiny bit muddier than the first song, a bit mid-range heavy. But that could also just be the MP3ification of Spotify. Oh, nice. Tambourine. So yeah, the hi-hat's definitely more in the middle, which is interesting. It might be off to the right a little bit. But that contrasted with the tambourine now off to my left, I guess it'd be your right. guitar solo, love it, by the way. The fact that there's even a guitar solo in this is really cool. Too many bands are scared to do guitar solos. Or instrumental solos of any kind. Love this, though. Oh, yeah! Yes. Just don't fade out. I didn't mention that, but I can't stand it when songs fade out, so I'm glad that they didn't do that. That's great. Okay, that's track 2. Dang. We are off to a fantastic start here. I just had a feeling that this album was going to be special. I can't really explain it. Oh, it looks like the lyrics are on here. Whoa. I'm turning it up. I want to hear this louder. Love the sweeping synths. Okay, big, low, booming sub bass in there. Oh, piano. It does feel a little bit muddy, like there's kind of like a mid-range soupiness going on where things are kind of floating around, and obviously the synth is supposed to sound like it was floating. Real bass in there. Again, the drums sound fantastic. Whether they're the actual recorded sounds themselves, or probably more likely than not recorded sounds with some overdubs with the drums. Not necessarily drum replacement, but could be drum replacement too. However they were done, they sound really good. I think the cymbals could be wider, but having them be more narrow allows the other elements of the song to exist on the sides of the stereo spectrum. When the world is on fire. Really good vocals. He's doing a good job of making the choruses. He's changing the way he sings for the different parts of the song to make them feel bigger or smaller as is needed, and that's really nice. Some vocalists can't do that. They just sing straight the whole way through, regardless of what's happening, but this is really nice. And if he is the one doing all the background vocals, he's doing a fantastic job as well at all the overdubs, the harmony parts, the background vocals. Probably him, I would guess. Maybe one other guy from the band or something doing some. I love this. You know, it sounds like it's going to explode, and there's a big moment on the downbeat of the beginning of the chorus, but then to have his vocals be the thing that are carrying it here. There's all sorts of things moving. There's sort of like a floaty bass sound in there that does sound like it has a lot of reverb on it and almost no high-end definition to it whatsoever. And I think that's kind of, to me, what's giving me a bit of the muddy feeling. But that's only a very small negative thing to me. Piano. The piano sounds pretty narrow as well. And it sounds kind of dry. There's not a lot of high end in it either. I feel like the piano could be a little bit better. But you have, when you're mixing a song, there's a lot of compromising that has to be done. If you have a lot of high frequencies on one aspect of the song, you can't have too many high frequencies in... Ooh, very cool. Ooh, we're rising. Oh. This. So I'm hearing some crash cymbals off to the sides when there crashes. I feel like there could be a little bit more happening here to make the song feel bigger, but exactly like I was just saying, though, you have to make compromises when you're editing, and I can totally understand why I think everything is being made to sound the way it does to allow other things to shine through and stand out in the mix. So, see, that guitar right there sounded really nice and crisp, but now all the high end has been taken out of the guitars completely. And there's a guitar solo, which again, love it. Loving the guitar solos. And that's a pretty common trick, is to take out the high end of the guitars to allow other things to stand out. All right, this is track 4, I believe, Inside These Walls. Love this already. Bit of an industrial sound here almost. Okay, some synth pad coming in. And then some finger snaps. Okay. Distortion on the vocals again. Things that dare not face the light now strut around like they own the place. It's really interesting vocal mixing. I can see you for who you are. Vocal echoing there. One more overdubs there, vocal overdubs. Ooh, there was a little bit of an accent in there. First time I've heard that. Very cool. Again, it sounds like there's chunky guitar in there, but all the high end has been taken away, and it sounds like there's been this like reverb or something added, this room tone or something, to try to make it sound big, but instead of making it sound big, which it is sort of making it sound big, but it's making it sound muddier and woofier. Ooh. Electronic drums here, very cool. I don't know if it's a guitar on the far, for you be the right, but the far side. Again, all the high frequency gone from the guitars here. And I can tell that the high frequencies, the lack of high frequencies in the guitars is a choice that the band or the editing and mixing engineer made, not mastering, because that would be on the entire mix if it was a mastering thing. So those were conscious decisions that were made throughout the process of the mix. Very cool. Halftime chorus again. Sounds like we have some synth strings and stuff in there now. Really pushing the vocals. Strings off to the sides, very nice. You know, in terms of the stereo spectrum, a lot of the times when the songs are getting bigger, there's things that are happening that are pulling my attention from the middle, but there's things that are moving around, and I don't necessarily feel like that. Ooh, very cool here. I think that was a guitar, that sound. That was really cool, very effect heavy. So, you know, this has such nice high frequencies to it. I mean, it's higher source sound, you know, it's electronic stuff, but to have these nice crisp sounds and then to have the guitars be so muted, not palm muted or lacking of high frequencies. Sub bass there. And the vocals have nice high frequencies to them as well, I feel. But I sort of alluded to this earlier. I believe that the lack of high frequency response in some of the instrumentation and the music that you're hearing is an intentional choice to have other things stand out above those. I think it might have been taken to such an extreme that I'm missing some of that, especially in the heavier guitars. I'm missing some of the sparkly crunchiness. Really cool production here on the drums. That's cool. Loops and stuff, and then again they're having stuff pan a lot. Very cool.
The devil's out there looking for the light to dim and the flame to kill.
That's a cool sound. Very cool. It's some sort of a synth patch. Ooh. Again, more of that sort of like that synth lead part, stuff swooping around. I feel like this could sound a lot more high fidelity if there was more high definition in things. And I know I've now harped on that for like 5 minutes more. But that's, to me, is really holding this back from being like the highest. Ooh, that's very interesting. The devil looks for saints the way Jesus looks for sinners. Very interesting.
Looking for higher ground on our way down.
And I just want to reiterate one more time too. It could be the combination of the MP3 and Spotify and this tablet that's maybe taking some of the crispy frequencies away from me, but my general experience has been that if something is mixed fantastically, it should translate to almost any device you have. And there's so many cool, awesome things happening here, but there's just a few things that are done in such a way that makes me kind of like, oh man, there's missed potential here for this to sound like, you know, like Grammy-worthy like production. And it's still fantastic the way that it is. And I have to say, I don't know how much of this they're doing themselves. You know, if I have the CD with the liner notes, I could read who did what and everything. You know, if this is them doing a lot of this themselves, it sounds fantastic. And I don't know how big this band is. Like, I don't know what their budget would be to make an album. How high should my expectations be set? Now, with that being said, you can have a person in their basement make something that sounds like a masterpiece. So, you know. And also, again, I think a lot of the things I'm complaining about were specific decisions. Like there, those hi-hats sound really nice here. More driving hi-hats and percussion like that. Why don't we have more of that in some of the earlier songs? Because there was like hints at that, but it was always pretty deadened. The guitars are very nice, spread wide, lots of reverb and delay. If you're a fan of this band and you're from Netherlands, let me know how big this band is. I would love to hear something like this on the radio in the United States. You know, I rarely listen to the radio because stuff like this doesn't ever make it on there. But sometimes cool things, you know, cut through everything else and make it out into the populace, to the pop, break out and become popular. Okay, very cool. I See You. We're on which track here? Wow, we're on track 6 already of 11.
From the first time
okay, ballad. Huge, massive reverb on his vocals.
Till the day you draw your last breath.
Oh, I love that.
I see you.
Very cool. The delays and the stereo spectrum is being used very creatively on this whole album. And sometimes I felt like the use of panning has been a little distracting, but other times, a majority of the time, very cool. Wow. Wow. Electronic drums here. Or completely different sounding drums than they had on those first few songs, where it sounded more realistic, like a realistic drum kit.
You feel invisible in a world that's so proud. You're just a face in the crowd.
A little bit of a accent there. Very cool. I wonder if any of I haven't really gone back and looked, but I wonder if any of their original music is in Dutch.
Do you see me? I see you.
Also, this song very poignant for that anime I was talking about earlier. Gosh, I wish I could remember the name. Like I said, something about my senpai is a bunny or something like that. Silly name, but oh, just heart-wrenching in the best way possible.
It made my heart long for you. It's your sadness that made me wanna hold you.
Guitar sounds fantastic now off to the side.
It made me wanna heal you.
Just palm muted again. There's also some piano in there.
It's your scars.
Big piano.
It made me wanna heal you. Oh.
Really nice background vocals here, harmony vocals, really nice. I just love all the cool synth sounds and little noises and things. Little blippy bloopy stuff, I love it. And that's sort of like almost like a whistle track or something. Ooh. Very cool. The synth pads are actual chords. What's happening there is very nice. Very floaty feeling. But also very positive. The chords are definitely like, this feels very hopeful. This song feels very hopeful because of the chords that are being used and the chord progressions. And the message. This is probably my favorite song on the album so far, I would say.
Open your eyes. Lift the veil from your eyes.
Cool piano part, very neat. Very ghosty sounding piano. Lots of reverb. No high frequency response. Oh yeah. Are we gonna get a cool guitar solo? A vocal solo. Vocal solo. Guitar now. We're not gonna go back to the chorus again though, huh? Kick has no high frequencies in it at all. Just a thuddy kick, thumpy sounding kick. Guitar strums, middle, nice. Piano going. Yeah. Yep. Pretty good. I don't know if I would say that that's my... I wish they would have gone to the chorus one more time. I'm kind of a stickler for that as well, but that's probably my favorite song on the album. Ah, cool. Oh. Again, fantastic sounding drums. We're back to the way they sounded at the beginning of the album, I think. This, hold on, I should have looked what song this was. Okay, we're on Alien. Just that single on the quarter note bass part there. Fantastic sounding so far. Piano, everything feels like it has a little bit more bite to it, which is nice. Now it's possible, I don't even know how these songs were written, recorded, or whatever, if they were done over the pandemic, you know, you know, if there was issues with recording. Possibly they were recorded all separate on complete separate occasions, which would mean every song was mixed, you know, recorded differently, which would be tough to have everything mixed consistently, but it sounded pretty good so far. Real bass guitar on this song, you can definitely tell. There's probably been bass on every song, but very cool. Pitch shifted background vocal there, spread wide. High frequency taking away a little distortion. Nice falsetto voice singing here. Very cool guitar part. Sounds like, I think it's guitar. Yeah. Double part 2, the octave lower. I think, or harmony part on the guitar. And those toms sound really good. Definitely this song feels like those first 2 songs. But you took me in and you covered me. I'm a ghost in disguise. There's a room under a foreign sky everywhere. Crashes sound really nice, open. I'm a stranger in their eyes. I'm an alien. Love this. I'm an alien. I'm an alien. Very cool. Ooh. Really nice. Whoa. We're getting Christian rocky territory here, it feels. Ooh, love the guitar tone there. Very cool. A lot of the high frequencies taken away. And there's some really great Christian rock music that I really, really love. But when it borders on like worship music, that's when it's kind of like gets too much for me, because I just can't stand worship music. It just seems so disingenuous to me. And I know it's probably the most genuine type of music out there, but it just doesn't sit right with me. Very cool. No third chorus or bridge, though, really, on that one. So, or I don't think so. Maybe I blanked out there for a sec. But really, oh, we get an ad. So we've listened for 30 minutes. Well, while the ad's going, I'll say I feel like I'm being like super negative about this, and the only reason for that is because all the elements are here for this to be so great that it's just like above, like so fantastic, like masterpiece level. And the few things that I'm bothered by a little bit, you know, the lack of high end, you know, in certain elements of it, the mix, I can't say that the mix feels sloppy or that it really doesn't feel like it needs to be like tightened a little bit or anything, because I really think that everything was done for specific reasons. And, you know, I just wish that it would have maybe been mixed a little bit differently to bring it up to that higher level, when I'm really already thinking that it's like so good. Like, it's that I see the potential for this to sound just a few notches above what it sounds like. And I think that would just take it off into the stratosphere and be fantastic. As it is, it's really great, but I think it could be better. This Present Darkness. Love how this is building. Very cool. Piano, very important in this song, giving it the feeling that it has here. Ooh. Whoa. Crazy different reverb on the snare, making it feel more roomy.
You've been misguided.
Whoa.
You were led astray.
Totally different sounding. Vocalist singing way lower register. The song's probably in a completely different key. Or just singing an octave lower.
Your soul in disarray.
A lot of vocoders and sounding stuff on the background vocals. Love it.
Have you decided?
Dude, this is awesome. Very cool.
What do you have to say? You've lost direction.
Real bass guitar.
You've lost your way.
Love this. Love the vocals. Love them. See, now it feels like the song's... See, when it got to the chorus, you know, they had the ga-gong, and then going into the chorus, and it sounded all nice, and then the chorus kicked in, and I just felt the high frequencies get sucked in to make it feel bigger and boomier, and the vocals needed to carry over the top of it, and all the high frequencies just went... They just got sucked out, and so the pre-chorus felt bigger than the chorus, and that should not happen. That's not how the song was written. You can tell listening to it, you know. But again, this is getting into mixing stuff, and I have mixed albums before. I worked in a recording studio for a long time. I haven't done anything that sounds this great or worked on anything that was half as important as this. Well, it was important to me and it was important to the artist, but this is much more professional than probably most things that I worked on. And so I understand a lot about what's happening in the mix here, and that's why I'm just kind of like, oh, I know it could have been just a little bit better, and not having heard the you know, what the mixing engineer had to work with. Sometimes it is so hard to take and make the best out of what you have, and you can tell that so many things were done to these mixes. The distorted vocals or the distorted drums here in the background, reverbed out. There's all sorts of effects and everything done post-recording. There's a lot of a lot of what you're hearing sounds the way it sounds because of things that were done in the mixing stage and not the recording or the performance stage. And I love that. I love it when a band can craft an album in the studio, and this doesn't sound heavy to me like I feel like it's trying to be, because it's just woofy low end. You know, and I'm not saying it needs to be metal or crazy crunchy, crazy overdriven, fuzzy, distorted guitars. It's just lacking bite, where I feel like the song is saying, here's the big chorus. And instead, it didn't feel that way because of the way it was mixed. Antidote. This would be track 9, I believe. Very cool.
I'm gone too far.
Ooh.
There's no way out.
Love it. Very dark.
This blackness like
I mean, this is like 9 Inch Nails-y, Stabbing Westward-y.
pain, let it roll.
Very cool.
Scream within. There's no way out. I'm gone too far. My tongue is swollen like the pain inside of me. Every scream is like a sigh. Does anybody care? Does anybody know? I need my antidote.
See, those guitars to me sounded like they had more of that bite. And they were doing something different. They weren't just going chug, 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 chug. You know, it's just a big held out chord. Very cool. This is awesome. Yeah. That snare coming in makes all the difference. Gives that air, the snappiness to the mix. Everything was so muted before that. And good. In that case, very good. Done very well. That awesome drum loop that was happening there was really cool. Now the guitars have been taken back to that muted state. And there is a lead guitar sitting over the top of it. I need to go back and listen to Elephant again.
Just like the desert needs to rain, washing it all away. I wanna feel alive, let it sing and cry, just like the river running wild.
The kick has no high definition whatsoever. It's become just... But in this song, the drums weren't ever really that huge. The kick wasn't, at least. So it's just part of that, but I feel like it would have benefited from having that big drum sound there.
This pain let me soar above it all. Show me the way I've come too far.
I love his voice, especially singing like this.
Somewhere deep down inside, I hear you sing my name. One day I will be free. One day I'll live. Is anybody there? Does anybody know?
This is reminding me of something, but I can't quite... Something from the 80s, I believe, but I can't quite... Oh, is that the end? That song felt like it ended much too soon. Okay, this is Run With You. Very cool piano part.
I wanna run with you, and I feel love just like a deep blue sea.
Real bass again. Nice, sounds nice. Playing on a higher string than just the low E string. Very nice. Yes, this is great. Be nice if we got a guitar solo in this song. We haven't had one now for like four or five songs. All the guitar solos were relegated to the front half of the album for whatever reason. There have been some guitar lead parts, but not a lot. It's certainly nothing that stood out as much as like a guitar solo. This is probably my second favorite song. was not a bored yawn. It was just a yawn. Guitar solo, like I said, happy about that. Even if it's not crazy, it doesn't have to be shreddy, you know. And I love the background vocals sort of, or the gang vocals, doubling it. Very cool. Very cool. Yes. Very cool. Yeah, that was that might have even been my favorite song. I love the way that one was mixed. Oh, dang it, another ad before the last track. I'll be right back. Okay. Fearless. Let's go. Is this the last track? I think it is. Final track.
I am not alone.
Okay.
No more.
Started out with some interesting stuff, and then now we've brought it way back.
With me all the time. In the valley of death, on the mountain high. I am meant to be alive.
Interesting manipulation there, frequency manipulation and stuff. There's someone holding a knob, doing interesting things there. With some sweeps. Very fast. Yeah. Wow. Whoa. That's a very cool double vocal part there. Wow, that was awesome. What a cool chorus. What are we gonna get here? Okay. Okay.
Like an eagle up high, on the wind of change, on the wings of love, and I will run through fire.
Huh. Okay.
I will not grow weary-eyed. I will not be faint, I won't be afraid. And I soar through the sky like an eagle.
Massive low frequency pushing. Awesome harmony vocals there. Very cool. Through the fire. Great use of that falsetto voice. I am not a vocal expert, by the way. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Great, though. Yeah! Yeah! This song could be 10 minutes long. I would love it. Yeah! I can see how much longer this track has to go, and it's not enough. I want a whole nother verse and a giant chorus to finish this album off. Okay. So that's it. That's that's Antidote by The New Shining. Okay, well. Oh, it's tough because overall I liked it a lot. And I want to make sure that I say that and push that through, and you watching this understand, I loved this album. I thought it was really great, and I want that to be, if this is the negative scale and this is the positive scale, positive's way higher than the negatives. Way. However, I am going to now probably talk for 20 minutes about what was disappointing to me about that album. And the core of it, it comes down to the fact that it could have been, had it been just, just a few notches above where it was, it could have been like, I can't believe how amazing this is that I'm hearing. Instead, I totally can believe what I was hearing. And while I do think that it was really, 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 really good. And what I'm talking about, by the way, is the production of the album. The production of the way everything sounded. Not the messaging, not that. I'm talking about how everything sounded. It was so close to being perfect. Well, not perfect. It was so close to being like upper echelon, like S tier. That's why I feel slightly let down, because I can see how this could have been, just a few things could have been done a little bit differently, and it would have been pushed up to that S tier level. And so if you skip to the end here and you're watching me just talk about my thoughts of the album, I loved it. I thought it was great. The synths stole the show for me, like I thought they were going to, but I was surprised at the level of electronic band to rock band. This is definitely more of a rock band. However, they were trying to mix the album so that they were trying to sort of like deny that they were being a rock band, I feel, with the mix, which is interesting because sometimes a rock band or a metal band is like, we want this album to feel more, I hate to say pop, but that albums can be mixed so that they're slightly more pop mixed. The vocals, the kick and the snare and the vocals are brought forward in the mix. They are more prominent than anything else. And one thing you can do to make something sound less heavy immediately is to take away the crisp chunkiness of any of the instruments or anything that's happening that is intense. So usually when you're talking about rock music or especially metal music, which is something I'm a lot more familiar with, if you're making metal music and you want to take away the intensity of what's happening, take away the high frequencies. It works every time. And a lot of what we were hearing on this album that disappointed me was the lack of higher frequencies, those crispy frequencies in a lot of what was happening. And I could hear guitars going chug, 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 chug. But instead of sounding chug, 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 it sounded chug, 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 chug. And to me, that was a big disappointment. I think there were several of the songs that were clearly written to be like, let's all pause for a sec, and then, we're a rock band, we're rocking out, we're jamming, we're hard, we're going half tempo, this is supposed to feel big, and it's supposed to feel intense, and instead, it felt like electronic music. If you're listening to a heavy electronic album, it can be because synths are really like attacking you, or there's a lot of like, you take a low frequency instrument like a bass or some sort of a synth bass or something, you take away the high frequencies, you add reverb, and it gets this big booming space feel to it. And then if you have a sound like that that's pushing, and then over the top of that you have your hi-hats, your snare, and your vocals, which are the higher frequency things, not necessarily just hi-hats but cymbals in general. But a lot of times in electronic music you don't have someone playing like hi-hats or crashes. And so I feel like the drums were part to blame in terms of how they were mixed for making things feel not as heavy as or intense as I feel like they wanted to. There weren't a lot of like crashy big moments, and maybe that's on, I think that the thing that disappointed me, like I said, is a lack of high frequency in some of the things that I feel could have made the album feel bigger, heavier, more intense. As I said multiple times while listening, though, I do think that everything that we heard was a conscious decision that was made by the mixing engineer or whoever happened to be mixing, whether it was the band doing stuff themselves. I don't know. Like I said, if I had the CD, I could look up the liner notes, and I maybe should have tried a little bit harder to find out more information about this album, but I kind of like to go in knowing as little as possible to just kind of give you my thoughts. But having the experience that I have in the music industry, recording, mixing an album, and knowing how, just working on my own music, things like that, all of it terrible and pales in comparison to how great this album was, and how well the songs were written and how well everything was played. Knowing and understanding those things, if I can understand why the decisions were made to take those high frequencies out of the guitars. They didn't necessarily want to sound like a big, crunchy, heavy band. And more importantly than that, they wanted other elements of the mix, other elements of the song to sit on top of that so that it wasn't getting drowned out. The vocals were really nice and crisp and clear the whole time. The vocals were clearly the focal point of this album, and that totally makes sense for someone who's trying to get a message across, regardless of what the message is or anything like that. Even though I really enjoyed a lot of the lyrics and I enjoyed the positive overall message, I think I really enjoyed that a lot. I like a lot of darker music, and there was a lot of this that felt very dark, but it was always sort of hopeful and coming from a place, I feel, where there was hope at the end of all of it, and that was really nice. I loved all that, but clearly the vocals were the focal point. And then several of the songs felt like a rock band with rock sounding drums that sounded fantastic, with really great sounding tom drums, nice hi-hats when they were in there, and then crashes that were really nice, spread out like using overhead mics with sound, I think. And then the kick and the snare sounded fantastic. And you can really tell that this was mixed in such a way that they thought, okay, like the verse, here's how the verse should sound, get it sounding good. Now we move on to the chorus. Here's how the chorus should sound. There was a lot of automating of things and putting, guitars on different tracks to have different effects during the different parts of the song. And that is incredibly common. That's how almost everything that you hear is mixed. You focus on different things and you change the sounds according to what they need to sound like for each different part of a song. And I feel like there was a bit of a disparity between certain instruments during the choruses and during the verses. I've said it now a bunch of times. I feel like the choruses should have felt more intense and heavier than they did because a lot of the frequencies were taken out. However, in the choruses, other instruments came in. A lot of the time there was piano coming into play, or there was just synth pads, or a lot of the time this like sort of booming bass that's supposed to be cavernous and fill the space, and that's where the bigness was coming from. Like, I would really be curious to know what some of those songs would have sounded like just listening on this device without any headphones, because I feel like a lot of what was happening in the songs was being low and mid frequencies being pushed at me to make it feel thicker and chunkier. And if you listen to something like this, or on a phone, or something that, a small speaker, something like this, which you could never listen to it on something like this, the songs would sound incredibly thin, and they would sound incredibly different from verse to chorus. And as I mentioned, you can tell from listening to the arrangement of the song that they were going for bigger choruses. They were going for, we're a rock band, we're building in the pre-chorus, here comes the chorus, everybody's together, it's big, it's notes held out, the singer is going up an octave, he's using his falsetto, there's background vocals, there's all sorts of new things that came in. And when that happens, a song should feel like it's at that moment, it's as big as it can be. And then maybe for the second chorus, it gets even more unbelievably bigger. And then the third final chorus, or the bridge, or at the end of the song, is when the whole thing just builds to that incredible climax that just it couldn't possibly get any bigger. And instead, the songs felt a little bit flat overall in terms of the mixing, because when it was supposed to get big, it got big in certain ways, but it didn't get big in other ways. It got big in the way that other things were added to the song, and the vocalist certainly was singing more intensely during the choruses than the verses, I feel like, a lot of the time. And that was great, and it really helped separate the different parts of the song. But the guitars and the bass specifically, like, there were a lot of times during the verses where I pointed out, like, oh, that sounds like a real bass. It sounded like a bass player playing a bass, and it fit everything, the frequency response, everything was great. And then during the chorus, it would just become this big boomy thing, and you really couldn't discern if it was a synth bass or a bass guitar or what was happening. And then on top of that, you have the guitars playing, but all the high frequencies from anything above, like, it sounded like 3,000 hertz, maybe less even. Everything was above that was just taken out. So the definition there was gone. So then what you're left with is a muddy sounding guitar, just like a wah, 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 rather than wah, 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 which that was probably a very stupid example that I just did there, but in my head it made sense. But you're left with a woofy, muddy, low range sounding guitar that's trying to mix with woofy, muddy, low-range bass, that's also trying to mix with woofy, muddy piano, because there was not a lot of tinkly, high-definition piano. The piano always had when it was playing for the most part, it had the high frequencies taken out, and it was the low and mid-range frequencies. So you have those three things happening, and then on top of that, one of the most important aspects of any song is the kick and how the kick sounds. And when you have the kick is a low frequency instrument as well, that's where you get this muddy buildup. And I've been referring to it the last 2 years as the mid-range soup, where there's no definition in anything you're hearing in the back of the song. It's just this wall of like, it's just this wall of low frequency. And on top of that sits the vocals, sits any sort of synth leads or little dinky dink things. There was a lot of shaker and sort of different percussive elements that weren't necessarily percussion instruments or aux percussion instruments, but percussive things that were happening with fast transients that were kind of flitting around, and then cymbals. So you have cymbals, vocals, and then any little flitty things kind of sitting on top, and everything else was like, there was a little bit of this thin stuff on top, and then everything else was just this booming low. And gosh, I've just gone on forever about this, and I said I was going to do it, and I didn't want to do that. But it really is just like, dang it, like, and I even said it, like, maybe if I had the CD copy of this, none of that would be an issue because I'd be listening to it on a better device and it wasn't an MP3. However, all my experience in listening to music on here, listening to music with my headphones that I've been using for over a decade, I don't think that's the case. There was some, like, it's 192 kilobit MP3s on Spotify, and that is significantly lower than the 1,400 or 1,141 kilobits per second that you would get with a WAV file, not to get into all that stuff. But, certainly there was some loss of quality there. However, I think everything that I'm talking about is applicable regardless of the quality that you're listening to this on. So that's why overall I feel like I love the album. I'm going to listen to it more. Listening to it in a totally different location. If I tried to listen to this in my car, for example, it would sound completely different than listening to it on headphones. Or I have some really nice speakers here in my basement that I have hooked up to my TV. If I put this on Spotify on my PS4, for example, and I was listening to it nice and loud, I bet it would sound a lot better than the way I was listening to it, hyper-focusing on it. However, to me, the best I can listen, the best quality that I can get in terms of focus and sonic quality and just enjoyment of music is listening to it on headphones, hearing really clearly the full stereo spectrum, being able to pick out the different instruments and all that. That's the way I like to listen to music. I enjoy listening to music, however, but that's the way I prefer to do it. And I feel like that's sort of the best way you can listen to music, to enjoy it to its fullest potential. And having just done that now, that's where I see some of the faults in the mixing that was happening with this. So I feel like I'm really dwelling on this way more than I should, and I should be praising the things that I enjoyed a lot. And so I do think that while we were listening to the album, I tried to point out a lot more positive things. So if you just skip to the end of this and you're like, this guy doesn't know anything, he hates it, it's stupid, this is my favorite band and I love everything that they do, go listen to the actual me talking over the music, because I do think I was trying to point out more of the positive things, though I was trying to make sense of everything that I was hearing with the low frequencies, and it just was so obvious what was happening while I was listening to it. And again, I having mixed certain things in music and doing the things that I've experienced and done, I really understand why everything was done, and I think that it was done well. I just don't necessarily think that it was the right way to approach the mixing of this album the way that they did. I think they should have leaned a little bit more into making it more of a rock sound, which I know is sort of contrary to what I was saying at the beginning of the video, but it felt to me like the arrangements of the songs were calling for being more intense and heavier And the mixing of the album was not done that way. The mixing of the album was a bit more pop and less, which again is fine. It's a really tough thing it's a tough thing. And like I said, I know I just feel so negative about this, and I don't. Overall, I really enjoyed the album, and I can't wait to listen to it again, dissect the lyrics a lot more, listen to this while I'm driving from place to place around in my car. I'm really going to enjoy listening to this album a lot more in the future, and it will probably grow on me every single time I listen to it. But one of my favorite things about music is listening to something for the very first time and having it just absolutely blow my mind. And there were elements of this that did this and made me really excited. And I think that's why I'm slightly disappointed with this, because I can see how if it was just a slightly different than what it is, I would be over the moon ecstatic about this. As it is, I'm only really I'm happy with it. Like, I really want to go back and listen to Elephant now and see if I think Elephant was mixed better than this. So, maybe I'll just go do that. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I feel kind of crappy because I've been, talking trash about this album now, and I really feel like it was a really cool thing that they did. I love the messaging, everything that I was paying attention to, at least when I was hearing the lyrics and like listening to the lyrics. I liked everything that was said. There were some really cool, poignant things being said. So I really enjoy that. Someone who suffers from having issues with depression would probably get more out of it than I do. Not that my life's been this incredible, happy journey my entire life. I mean, nobody's life is really like that. But I do feel like this album was maybe made lyrically for people necessarily not me, and that's fine. Not everything has to be for me. And as I said, I pointed out at the beginning that I don't really listen to music ever for the lyrical content. I'm listening for the music, and that's the thing that I enjoy the most. And that's why I nitpick it so much, because I know how good this could have been, and I know how good it is, and I'm happy that it is as good as it is, because it could have been significantly worse. But there's just certain things that they did on this album that I can be really forgiving of certain things, and it's really hard for me to forgive certain other things. So yeah. So oh gosh, I really, it's tough to articulate, because I know I sound super, super negative, but at the end of the day, I did enjoy this album a lot. I would recommend it to pretty much almost anybody. The guitar solos were great. Gosh, I haven't even talked about that stuff at all. The guitar solos were fantastic. They really surprised me. I did not expect guitar solos. I don't remember that off of Elephant at all. But I didn't, like I said, I only listened to it once, I think, all the way through, and then I just kind of skipped around, and then I was like, I haven't had enough time with this to include it on my list, so I excuse me. It kind of fell by the wayside for me. So the guitar solos were fantastic. The drum playing was really good. The arrangements of the song were fantastic. All the cool little flitty things, everything that was a part of the song that wasn't drums, bass, piano, guitar, or vocals, I enjoyed immensely. I loved it. All the cool little things, the intros for every song were nice. I wish like 3 or 4 of the songs felt way too short for me. I wish they would have come down a little bit or done whatever they did in the bridge and then came back to the chorus one more time to finish with a bang. And they didn't. Instead, they let the song kind of end on more of a whimper. And that was a little bit disappointing with me, especially that last track, which I think was really special and very cool. I really wanted it to build and explode at the end. And, but that's me wishing that they did something that they didn't, not critiquing them for what they did. That's neither here nor there. But I am a big stickler for song structuring, and thank goodness they never faded any song out. That would have really disappointed me. But song structuring, after being a song fading out, structuring a song to make it in such a way that I feel left wanting more, I don't necessarily like. And I know a lot of people don't agree with that. They feel like you should leave a person wanting more. That's not the way I enjoy music. I want to be fully satisfied every time I listen to something. I want to be blown away every time I listen to something. I don't want to have to hit repeat on something to enjoy it more. I want you to knock my socks off, tell a full story, and then end it and move on to the next song. But again, that's neither here nor there. That's just me talking about what my preference is for stuff. So I don't want to ramble, which I have been doing. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully some of my thoughts were clear. I have coming up here on my channel, I have Black Keys CD is in the mail. I am still, since February 20 whatevereth, I am still waiting for Rack Shack from Bloodywood. I pre-ordered that sucker back in February when it was coming out digitally, and then they pushed the release date to April, and then it got pushed, I believe, to the end of April, and now here we are, May 15th or whatever it is today, and no Rack Shack. So as far as I know, still coming, maybe coming next week, but I just found out today, they just announced Soilwork has a new album coming out in August, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So lots of good music to look forward to. And again, I'm going to go just put this album on and listen to it again right now, probably, because I need to hear it in a different setting with a different context, because I don't know. So hopefully somebody gets something from this video. If not, I had fun making it, and I will see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching. Okay.